Well, we're glad that Marc is joining us now. He's a successful religious education leader at both parish and diocesan levels, a popular blogger on topics related to evangelization, catechesis. He joins us to talk about effective ways to keep our kids Catholic. Marc, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, your book is somewhat of a guidebook for Catholic parents on ways to share the faith. Tell us what readers can expect.
The book is exactly that. Yes, it's a guidebook and for parents on ways they can share the faith with their kids. There's like it's broken into 3 steps. So the first step would be to secure your own faith. So parents' example is extremely important. You are the most influential thing in your kids' lives. So you have to secure your own faith. You've got to have that example of faith first before your kids will be able to pick up on it. So that's the first thing, is to secure your own faith. The second thing is to educate to foster faith. So everything in the faith is important, but there's some things, some aspects of the faith that are more crucial to developing a life of faith than others. So I talk about different things that you can do to partner with your religious education program in PSR or in the Catholic school, and elements that you can add that really do foster faith. And you can do that at home, and pretty easy. Parents can do that. And the other thing is to create an environment of faith at home. And that's something that we really don't think about that much, but kids only spend a minuscule amount of time at the parish religious education program, but a ton of time at home. And what you can do in your home to foster faith is extremely important. The physical environment, we don't think about the physical environment as much, but change experts talk about how important that is for developing character and for influencing behaviors.
Can you talk about, Marc, if you could, what's the best time to start, or is there a best time? Should you just get right into it when you bring faith into, teaching your children? And if people haven't been doing that, it's okay to jump in right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the first thing is to start when they're just really young. I started, and I advocate starting when you're reading stories to your kids. Read Bible stories to your kids. When you're reading nursery rhymes and fairy tales and other stuff, just start doing that. Start talking to them about Jesus. And it's never too late to start. There's always a time when you can jump in. There's certain ways to do it, but yeah, I think those 3 things, if you're even starting late in the game, doing those 3 things will do an immense amount to foster faith in your kids.
Mm-hmm. It's a very distracting world out there today, and you're a parish DRE, and so you've experienced it. How do we get past, Marc, where parents will say, well, I've dropped my kid off at the parish, that's where my child's going to learn about the education, and take more responsibility upon ourselves as parents?
That is really the key, isn't it? It's really a trick.
Yeah.
I think that so much more needs to be done in the parish to foster this partnership. A lot of that comes from a mentality that the parish kind of says, well, we'll take your kids and we will educate them. Don't worry about that. That's our job. And I think this mentality has grown up over the years where parents are just kind of expected to do that, and they sort of gave that role over. But I believe if parishes would start to partner with parents more, to say, hey, you're a vital part of this whole thing. We need you to do this. In our program, we're going to have this partnership, and we're going to have things for you to do, and you'll take them to us, and we'll give them the systematic education. But we want you to foster faith through your example, through Bible reading at night, through prayer, through other things, and creating that, empowering parents to say, hey, you're a vital part of this, and we need you. And we're not just the experts, but we're going to be the guides, and we're going to help you to be the hero of your own story, the hero of your own family in this religious education environment.
Jay mentioned you're a DRE and you serve on the diocesan level now too. I know you were a Navy aviator as well. Talk about how these assignments helped you in putting this all together in a book, and if it did, and how did it lead to nourishing that?
Well, I got out of the Navy, and I had kind of a major conversion while I was in my last year when I was in the Navy. I was going to get out anyway, but I decided to go and study theology instead. And so I had this I was kind of driven already. You know, the Navy had kind of put that drive in me. I got out of school, and I went to work in a parish, and at the same time, I'd had my first child. So figuring out how to foster faith in my own children, had become a very important thing for me. I had fallen away as a teenager. I didn't want that for them. I wanted them to always have this faith and to be able to rely on it. So I started thinking about ways that I could do that and ways that in my family I could make that work. At the same time, people found out about my conversion story, how I converted later in life, like in my 30s. And they were asking me questions. Well, what did you do? What influenced you? What things did you read? Because they wanted to know what they could do to help their grown children who had fallen away from the faith. And so I talked with them, and I told them about the things that I had done. But there was always such regret in their voices. And a lot of times they had come back to the faith later in life themselves. And when their children were young, they really weren't that involved. And so I really kind of made it my mission. I could do some things for them, but I could really do a lot for younger families who weren't at that stage yet. And I wanted to really make programs so that those parents didn't have to have those regrets.
And you've certainly done it, Mark. Well, thank you so much for being with
Mark.
us. KeepYourKidsCatholic.com is a website where people can find out more about your work, and you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Kate.